fear the world would not be the same. Some people laughed, some people cried, most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Indo scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu tried to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to persuade him, he takes on his multi-armed form and said, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all felt that way, one way or another. Greetings everyone, and welcome to the final version of my SuperVillains Explored. And today, I'm going to be talking about not only one of my favorite DC supervillainesses, but she is also a villain of Wonder Woman. Yes, so for the first time in SuperVillains Explored, we will be talking about a Wonder Woman villain. And out of all of Wonder Woman's villains, I think that she's the one that deserves the most spotlight, because to me, in my personal opinion, she is one of Wonder Woman's most dangerous foes, and I'll be talking about the 4 incarnations of the supervillain known as Cheetah. So let's get started. Now there have been 4 people that have taken the mantle of the Cheetah, and the first that I'm going to talk about is a very rich socialite named Priscilla Rich. And Rich debuted in Wonder Woman number 6 in October of 1943. And she is one of 2 pre-crisis incarnations of the Cheetah. And basically she was a 1940s era DC socialite who had an aristocratic upbringing. However, she had an overwhelming inferiority complex and suffered from multiple personality disorder or split personality, whatever you want to call it. And after being eclipsed by Wonder Woman at a charity event, she retreats to her room and collapses before her makeup mirror, upset. There she sees an image of a woman dressed like a cheetah who basically tells her, "I'm the real you," and tells her to fashion an outfit to resemble a cheetah. And she was an expert knife fighter. And they never really explain why she was an expert knife fighter, but you also gotta remember, this is the golden age, so none of this stuff really made sense. But she was a member of Villainy Inc., which was a criminal organization dedicated to all of Wonder Woman's female foes. She would have several run-ins with Wonder Woman before retiring in her North Shore, Maryland mansion. And the villain Cobra would try to recruit her for the organization. However, they find that she is invalid because she had become deathly ill. And Priscilla's niece, Deborah Dumaine, or Debbie, came to her, and basically Priscilla, before she could actually tell her that she was the Cheetah, she died. However, this would be recanted post-crisis, as she would be shown to still be alive and would end up being killed by Barbara Minerva, the 3rd person to take up the mantle of the Cheetah. But I'll get to that in a second. Now we move on, of course, to Deborah, or Debbie Dumaine, who was the 2nd person to take up the mantle of the Cheetah. And Debbie was introduced as the niece of Priscilla Rich. Of course, I already said that. I'm sorry, I'm talking over myself. Just a lot of information to try to process at once here. But feeling remorseful for her wealthy upbringing, she decides to become an activist, and she actually struck up a friendship with Wonder Woman. However, later that same day, when she was summoned to her aunt's mansion, she she was captured by Cobra's operatives, who brought her to their headquarters. Take Two brought them to his headquarters, or their headquarters, I should say. And they proceeded to torture and brainwash Debbie into becoming the Cheetah. And Debbie would basically have a much, for that time, skimpier outfit. It was basically slit down to the cerebellum, or the cerebrum, or what. I'm sorry, I'm using brain terms. Basically, it was a V-neck that basically split in between, like, her cleavage to, like, right where her belly button was. And she had razor-sharp red nails and cat ears that were hidden by her hair. Yeah, kind of goofy. But she would actually... going over my information here. She would have many conflicts with Wonder Woman and would also serve as a member of the Secret Society. And she would come into contact with both the JLA and the JSA. And, however, her existence after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, her role as the Cheetah would be recanted out of existence. However, she does still exist post-Crisis, as there was a photo referencing her in Priscilla Rich's mansion, where she says, you know, from to Aunt Priscilla with love from Debbie. Now, after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, we would get two other incarnations of the Cheetah. However, they would be on a more mystical side. Whereas Debbie and Priscilla were just normal women who wore cat suits. The two that I'm about to talk about are the post-Crisis and were more on the mystical side. However, I'm going to skip over Barbara Minerva, the third one, to talk about the Argentine businessman Sebastian Balarustos. I don't know, I cannot really pronounce that for the life of me. But he was basically the fourth and very first male Cheetah. And he was a business tycoon who was an agent for Cersei, and as well as a lover for her, and seeking the plant god Artstukarge. I'll have to pronounce that later. Anyway, moving on to the plant god that gave Minerva her powers, he becomes the new version of Cheetah. And appealing to the god's ego, he makes the case that the previous Cheetahs had failed due to their actions and that a male Cheetah would be superior. Once he is convinced, Barbara Minerva's access to her Cheetah powers were cut off, and he was given the power in her place. He would prove responsible for turning Wonder Woman's old friend Vanessa Capitelis, as I believe how you pronounce it, into the third Silver Swan. Angered at the loss of her powers, Minerva eventually battles him for control of the power of the Cheetah by becoming the temporary host of one of the Furies, the ancient Greek Furies. And her access to this new power by stealing it from the Golden Age Fury hero would, however, this did not assist her in regaining the right. However, after she kills Sebastian in his human form, she does regain the Cheetah form after offering his blood as a sacrifice. So he was only the Cheetah for better part of 2001. Very like small time version. But now we move on to the big daddy of them all, or should I say the big mama of them all, Barbara Minerva, who is the third and probably the most recognized version of Cheetah. And this is the version that I know. And Barbara Ann Minerva, or Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva, I should say, is a British archaeologist who was born as the heiress to a vast wealth of the ancient family site of an ancient family site in Nottingham. Ambitious, selfish, and severely neurotic, or at least as I put it as an understatement. Basically, the best way that I describe Minerva is that, you know, there are many women that describe bitch, but this woman takes the word bitch to another level, if not redefines the word. And she would develop a passion for archaeology that eventually would lead her to search out an ancient tribe in Africa who utilizes a female guardian with the powers of a cheetah. After a band of marauders actually killed the guardian and most of what remained of her original expedition party, Barbara would, with the aid of a priest called Chahuma, the caretaker of the ancient plant god Uritz Kartaga, I can't really pronounce that all that great, but she takes her place after being told that she would gain immortality. Her powers are conferred to her by ingesting a combination of human blood and berries or leaves of this god. Yummy. Unfortunately for Minerva, the host of the Cheetah persona is actually intended to be a virgin, which Minerva was not. So her transformation was part curse and part blessing. She experiences severe pain and physical disability while in her human form, and a bloodthirsty euphoria while in her cat form. This version would actually come into Wonder Woman's world when she discovers Diana's lasso of truth. As an archaeologist of sorts, she covets the lasso in hopes of adding it to her collection of historical items. She tries to do so the first time through trickery, claiming that it is a matching of the ancient golden girdle of Gaia, which the lasso was partially fashioned after. Unfortunately, the scheme partially worked as Minerva would end up falling victim to the lasso's enchantment of having to tell the truth. And eventually through many attempts, Minerva would stop trying to pursue Wonder Woman's golden lasso and just try to best Diana in combat because of a bruised ego. And over the years, however, Cheetah and Wonder Woman would at least once within their careers would actually save each other's lives and would be considered even. And Cheetah would basically save Wonder Woman's life from being swallowed into a demonic dimension, whereas, Wonder Woman would save her from being taken over by this Baron. And Minerva would end up losing her powers, of course, to Sebastian, as I just told you. However, with the help of the Flash villain Zoom, Minerva would actually gain superhuman speed, even more so added on to her abilities as the Cheetah, which was strength, agility, and cat-like reflexes, night vision, all that stuff. Basically, the normal things that a cat would have. And with Zoom, she would gain superhuman speed, the equivalent of like 4 cheetahs combined. At least, I'm sure that's over-exaggerated. But she would also pursue a relationship with him. She would kill Priscilla Rich and use her blood as an offering, and also to become to establish her dominance as the Cheetah. Cersei would place a spell on Minerva, allowing her to change her appearance at will. And she would form a new Injustice gang alongside Lex Luthor and the Joker, and she would join forces with Checkmate to rebel against Darkseid in Final Crisis, and have a brief relationship with Snapper Carr. And she would pretty much be responsible for the creation of Genocide, and she would also put Sarge Steel... Sorry about that. As I was saying, she would put Sarge Steel as director of the Department of Metahuman Affairs, and so on and so forth. But that is it. That is Cheetah in a nutshell. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed my Supervillains Explored. And leave your comments.